It's important to have a teaching philosophy. It's an articulation of your thoughts and feelings about why you teach. We live in an age where there's an overwhelming volume of information online. The currency of this information is almost immediate and the breadth is expansive. There are also numerous channels to access information. Social networking and the read-write web is one aspect of online activity and content. So are aggregated content and data, tagging, crowdsourcing, linking, searching, and commercial websites. To navigate these content-filled environments, one requires not only a methodology for seeking relevant information within these networks, but also the internal motivation to apply personal meaning to this knowledge. My teaching philosophy addresses these concerns in what I call humanistic connectivism. By the end of this presentation, I want you to be able to reflect on the concepts of knowledge and meaning in online teaching and learning, explain connectivism, identify elements of connectivism that may be incompatible with humanism, reconcile these concepts, and apply concepts for online teaching. The term connectivism was coined by two modern educational theorists, George Siemens and Stephen Downes. It sort of builds on the concepts of social constructivism in that it asserts knowledge is built by social groups, but connectivism also takes into account the recent internet phenomena of social media and the connections that reside in them. In fact, according to connectivism, knowledge may reside in non-human appliances like computer servers and databases. Connectivists believe that currency and the ability to find information are of utmost importance. Think of Wikipedia as a sort of physical representation of connectivist ideals. Its content is interlinked, continually updated, and contributed to by a mass of people. The importance of decision making is also mentioned in Siemens and Downes' writing, albeit briefly, but to me that is an important facet of the theory because without selectiveness, the volume of information and connected content becomes overwhelming. Here's a quote from George Siemens that kind of captures the tone of connectivism. He says, "Chaos as a science recognizes the connection of everything to everything." Now, humanism, particularly in philosophical terms, deals with freedom, personal meaning, personal choice, intentionality, passion, and the importance of human relationships. So here's where I see the two theories of connectivism and humanism falling on separate sides of the spectrum, but also there are overlaps that may connect them. Connectivism deals with external knowledge, the words, symbols, and other forms of expression we use to represent meaning. Humanism deals with internal meaning. Meaning is a very personal thing that is created by and for the self. These things may be interdependent. There are just two sides of consciousness and thought. Some of the commonalities have to do with freedom, decision-making, the importance of experience, and the importance of relationships. Both theories acknowledge that both knowledge and meaning are dynamic and malleable. I think that there is evidence in literature and modern thought that these two concepts are not only compatible, but very interrelated. Hermann Hesse's Glass Bead Game is, in my opinion, a novel about the interplay between connectivism and humanism. It takes place in a futuristic pedagogic province where academics play a game of connecting disciplinary concepts and symbols. Ravenscroft has written academic articles about the role of both dialectic and dialogic activities in online learning. Jaron Lanier wrote a book called You Are Not a Gadget, where he opposes both mob mentality and online anonymity. He warns us against identifying ourselves too much with our Facebook walls or our Twitter feeds. He writes that all we need is a little humility, honesty, and the very hard work of designing computers for the sake of people instead of the easier work of designing computers for the sake of computers. Annie Dillard talks about the external expression of internal meaning in one of my favorite excerpts from her essay, Total Eclipse. We teach our children one thing only, as we are taught, to wake up. We teach our children to look alive there, to join by words and activities the life of human culture on the planet's crust. As adults, we are almost all adept at waking up. We have so mastered the transition, we have forgotten we ever learned it. Yet it is a transition we make 100 times a day, as, like so many will-less dolphins, we plunge and surface, lapse and emerge. We live half our waking lives and all of our sleeping lives in some private, useless, and insensible waters we never mention or recall. Useless, I say, valueless, I might add, until someone hauls their wealth up to the surface and into the wide awake city in a form that people can see. Siemens talks about the role of a curatorial teacher, who acts as a guide or model for navigating learning environments. He writes, a curatorial teacher acknowledges the autonomy of learners, yet understands the frustration of exploring unknown territories without a map. Instead of dispensing knowledge, he creates a space where knowledge can be created, explored, and connected. Curators don't adhere to the traditional, in-class, teacher-centric power structure. A curator balances the freedom of individual learners with the thoughtful interpretation of the subject being explored. Howard Gardner, creator of the multiple intelligences theory, wrote about an eighth intelligence that he called existential intelligence. Here are ways to apply these concepts to an online learning environment. First, learn about your students. Find out their interests and skills. Position yourself alongside them in online activities. Demonstrate how you learn. Emphasize personalization. This is especially important in an environment where people can feel dehumanized or isolated. Present students with choices, alternatives, and opportunities for exploration. Create opportunities for decision making. Present optional activities and readings. Now, these should be carefully selected and clearly identified as optional. And de-emphasize grades. Make sure students are aware of how they're graded and that this information is clear and available, but encourage students to focus on the subject matter and not the score. We want them to be motivated intrinsically. These can be challenging to implement, but the ultimate goal is to empower students to take ownership of their learning.